How long does it take to change your perspective? How long does it take to change your perspective? So today I worked with a gentleman who he shared with me all of the traumatic experiences he's had throughout his life. And he had a very vivid memory of when he was 9 months old and his parents were fighting. And he had this desire to stop it. He felt so uncomfortable and afraid of what was going on. And he said he was screaming, but he was strapped into his car seat and he couldn't do anything. And he felt powerless and unsafe and unloved because they weren't paying attention to him. And so he felt like he was worthless. And so we went through this whole thing, and he shared with me all these traumatic events, these experiences that he's had throughout his life, and that he feels just lost, separate, alone, disconnected. He's attempted suicide, but it didn't go. And so he's still here, and he's feeling like he really wants to connect, but there's a block. And so he shares all this with me. And then we go into an exercise, the belief breakthrough process. And we go through this mindfulness exercise. We go to the grounding, connecting with himself, identifying memories where he was traumatized. And for this moment, he participated in the memory when he was 9 months old. And so then he looked at that. We looked at what belief did he create about himself, which was that he's unloved, that he's not worth it, he's not valuable. And then we looked at how that costs him, or what it's cost him throughout his life. And he's been able to see how that's impacted him in many, many ways, and then has been reinforced time and time again. So then we say, okay, well, do you give yourself permission to let go of this belief that you are not valuable, that you are not loved? And he said, yes, I would like to give myself permission to let go of that. And I've been trying, right? And so he says he's at a therapist. He's worked through this for a while, but he doesn't feel like he's ever really gotten there. He feels like he's just talked a lot about it. And so he said, okay, well, you give yourself permission. That's the first step. So he said, I give myself permission to let go of this belief. I said, okay, great. So what would serve you better? If you didn't have that belief, what would be a belief that you would like to believe about yourself? He's like, well, that I'm valuable, that I'm seen, that I matter, that I'm loved. You say, okay, so let's look at all those. Those are all great. You know, how do you feel? He's like, that's what I would like to feel. So we say, okay, so let's close your eyes. Let's go back to this memory of when you were 9 months old. You're there in the car seat. Your parents are fighting. And at that moment, if someone could show up for you, someone that loves you, that knows you completely and has the words that you need to hear in this moment, who shows up for you? And he said, well, my grandfather's here. He says, I can't really understand him because I don't understand language yet, but I see the smile in his face. He winks at me. He gives me that smile. I see his gold tooth, and I can feel that he cares for me. I feel loved. And he starts crying in this moment. And I start crying. And he says, wow. And so he says his grandfather just, nudges his cheek and just gives him a lot of love. And he says, I feel loved. I feel seen. And so I encourage him to breathe that in, and then to come back to this present moment today and say, okay, what are some things that you can do to reinforce that belief in your life today that you are loved? And he came up with some action steps and then was committing to go do them. But he said it was amazing how light he felt. That this is something he's been wanting for so long. And yet in just a matter of, we met for a little over an hour. But in that process, he said he was able to find some freedom, some lightness that he's been looking for years. So how long does it take for you to change your perspective? I met with 3 different gentlemen today. All of them were in tears. All of them had different breakthrough experiences. This one that I shared with you, just barely though, was a very powerful and profound experience. And that is because he's done a lot of work to prepare himself for this moment. And so that's what I said with it to him. I said, you know what? You've been doing a lot of work to prepare yourself for this breakthrough. That's why you were able to have such a powerful breakthrough in this moment, because you've done a lot of work, right? Sometimes we look at success, we think it's a success overnight, but there's a lot of groundwork that's done. And so I don't know exactly what the timeline is, how quickly perspectives can change. But when it does happen, it happens in an instant. It's that build-up point, when it's like 33 degrees and it's raining, and then it drops to 32 degrees and it starts snowing. It's something so small, but it makes a big difference. And so you might have started at, say, like 44 degrees, and if you're trying to get to snow, you're slowly working at the temperature. You're like, wow, I've been doing this for so long, but there's no change. I haven't got to the snow yet. But you've gone from 44 degrees to 34 degrees. So you're so close, you're almost there. But if you give up because you think, nothing that I'm doing is making a difference, it's not really working, then you don't get the result. But if you keep going, you keep trying, you keep getting back up, you keep putting the effort in, eventually you get to that moment where it shifts, and it seems like it happens so fast, but it's because you've been putting in the work, you've been putting in the effort, you've been persistent, you've been trying, you've been getting up and trying again and getting up and trying again over and over and over again until you arrive, until you achieve that moment at that next breakthrough, that mountain peak experience. And you get to that point and you're like, I'm here, this is a beautiful view. And then you get ready for the next descent into the next valley. So wherever you're at right now today, I just want to give you a little bit of hope that you're on the right path, that you're working it out, that you're figuring these things out, that you are imperfectly perfect. You were born to struggle. You were born to find success. You were born to learn and grow. And it's not a perfect process. You're not going to get it right every time. But as you keep practicing, as you keep allowing yourself to explore new possibilities, you try different ways, you will find the outcomes you desire. You will find happiness. You will find peace. And you will find fulfillment. So thank you for being you. You really are a miracle, and you have a purpose. I believe in you. I'm grateful for you, and I see you. That's why I'm here every single day. So if today's message was for you, go and like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who you know could benefit from this message today. And then I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.